My younger sister stole my fiancé. On the day I gave birth in the hospital, I swapped sons with her. 10 years later, my son was kidnapped and the kidnappers demanded a ransom of 1 million yuan. My sister was overjoyed, dancing with excitement, and asked my parents to refuse to pay the ransom. After the kidnappers killed the hostage, I picked up my sister's son in front of the whole family and said, "Julian, the game of hide-and-seek is over. It's time to recognize your real mother." In front of my sister, the son she had brought up with her own hands snuggled up to my chest and said, "Mom, that's great. Our family can finally be together. Your son is in my hands. Prepare 1 million yuan before 7 o'clock tomorrow evening, or you'll never see him again." I hung up the kidnapper's phone and quickly put down the work I was doing and ran to the living room of the Rose family's villa. In the living room, my family was playing mahjong leisurely. "Rose, instead of working in the kitchen, what are you doing here? You useless piece of trash. Do you want to live here for free, eating and drinking without doing anything? I'll deduct half of the 3,000 yuan I gave you this month so that you'll remember not to do this again." My younger sister Anna was clearly displeased when she saw me coming. "Nathaniel has been kidnapped. The kidnappers are demanding a ransom of 1 million yuan. If we don't pay up by 7 o'clock tomorrow evening, they'll kill him," I shouted anxiously. My parents stopped playing mahjong and finally looked up at me. "How much? 1 million yuan? How can that little bastard be worth so much? Let him die." When mother mentioned Nathaniel, her face was full of disgust, but Nathaniel is still a member of our family after all. As soon as I finished speaking, father stood up angrily and threw the mahjong in his hand at me. "Shut up. You have the nerve to say that. I'm so ashamed of you. You got pregnant before marriage and secretly gave birth to this mongrel without telling us. You've disgraced the entire Rose family. We don't have a daughter like you, nor do we have such a grandson." The mahjong hit my forehead and broke the skin. Blood flowed down along the corner of my eye and soon half of my face was smeared with blood. Anna looked at the blood on my face with great interest, as if she were admiring a piece of art. My brother-in-law Ethan saw my pitiful state and wanted to get up and hand me a tissue, but Anna glared at him and he sat back down. My family just watched me coldly, letting my wound bleed. They seemed to be hoping that my blood would flow out completely and that I would disappear from this world so that they would have one less burden. "Aunt Rose, why are you bleeding? Who hit you?" "I'll fight him to the death." A 10-year-old boy came back from school with his small school bag on his back. When he saw the blood on my face, he quickly ran into my arms, on the verge of crying. My broken heart was instantly filled by this little boy, and I felt very gratified. Sure enough, a mother and son are connected by their hearts. It seems that my efforts and forbearance over the years have been worthwhile. "Julian, come to mommy quickly. That bitch is covered in blood. Don't get yourself dirty." Anna ran over and carried the child away. "Julian, mommy has told you so many times not to get so close to this bitch. She's just a lowly servant of the Rose family, full of germs and viruses. If you get too close to her and catch a cold or a fever, mommy will be heartbroken." "Yes, my dear little grandson. You are the true blood of the Rose family, not like some people's mongrels who are not presentable." "Right, grandma is absolutely right. You will inherit the Rose family's business in the future. You can't let people with ulterior motives get too close. They're all bad guys who want to divide up your property." The blood on my forehead didn't stop and kept flowing down. There was already a dripping sound on the ground, which was my blood crying on the ground. When my Julian saw me, the veins on his forehead bulged instantly. "You bastards. You hit her on the head. I'll make you pay with your lives. You're all big bad guys." Julian struggled desperately in Anna's arms, and his fingernails ruined her delicate makeup. "My child, I'm your mother. How could you hit me like this? Baby, be good. Listen to grandpa. Don't stay with that cheap woman anymore. Go back into your homework, okay?" Julian was like a crazy little tiger. He broke free from Anna's restraint and knocked down the father who had hit me directly onto the ground. Father let out an ouch and lay on the ground in pain, his whole body trembling uncontrollably. He had an old problem in his waist, and Julian was smart enough to aim at that spot. He probably would have to lie in a wheelchair for half a month after this. Julian, still in a rage, didn't stop. He picked up the teacup on the table and was about to throw it at father. Everyone was shocked, and Ethan quickly carried him upstairs and locked him in a room. Anna stood up and walked towards me angrily. Rose, what kind of magic potion did you give my son? Why is he so on your side? I wiped the blood on my face, met her gaze, and replied viciously, because you don't deserve to be a mother. From the moment your child was born, you never breastfed him once, nor changed his diaper once. These are things that a mother should do herself, but you threw them all to me. I witnessed the growth of his first baby tooth, heard his first cry of mommy, taught him to walk, and taught him to eat. And what did you do? Anna burst out laughing. Rose, you deserve to be a good-for-nothing all your life. These are the jobs for nannies, yet you're still doing them with such enthusiasm. I'm the general manager of the Rose family group. How could I possibly waste my time on such crap like changing diapers and dealing with piss? Don't think I don't know what you're up to. You know your son is as useless as you are. It'll surely be my son Julian who'll inherit the Rose family in the future. Aren't you just trying to cozy up to my Julian so that you can get more money in the future? I'm telling you, Julian is my son, and don't you dare think of taking a single penny from him. Humph, if it weren't for Grandpa's will back then, stating that the Rose family's inheritance should be left to his 2 great-grandsons, you'd have been kicked out long ago. You'd better spend some time thinking about how to save your son. After all, 1 million yuan is no small amount for you. At the mention of the kidnapping, Anna couldn't stop laughing. I'd never seen her so happy before. Indeed, if Nathaniel was killed by the kidnappers, then there would be only one heir to the Rose family. 8 p.m. There were less than 24 hours left before the time set by the criminals. I was in my room applying medicine to the wound on my forehead, like a female cat that had gone out to beg for food and got hurt, licking its wounds alone in the cave, lonely and desolate. Looking at the face with crow's feet in front of the mirror, a pang of sadness welled up in my heart. Over the past 10 years, as the daughter of the Rose family, I had lived a life worse than that of a nanny. Suddenly, the sound of high heels came from outside the room. Without knocking or asking, the door of my room was pushed open directly by Anna. Anna swaggered in, pulled up a chair and sat down, deliberately showing off the Hermes bag slung over her shoulder. I looked carefully at that bag. It was the Hermes Midnight, worth over 1 million yuan. Oh dear, look at Mom and Dad. They just wouldn't listen when I told them not to buy me things. They still had to buy me this bag. My closet is almost full. It's so annoying. The gifts casually given to her by the family were worth over 1 million yuan, yet they were so stingy when it came to the life of their own grandson. They were really cold-blooded. I looked at her coldly. If you want to show off your superiority in front of me and make fun of me, then you've succeeded. You can leave now. Oh my, sister, look at how hurtful your words are. How could I be the kind of person who kicks someone when they're down? This time, I'm actually here to offer help when you need it most. Anna took out a thin envelope from her Hermes bag and placed it in front of me. I know you're short of money, sister, so I've come to advance your salary. Your salary for working as a nanny at home this month was originally 3,000 yuan. But since you were lazy, 1,500 yuan was deducted. Logically, I should only give you 1,500 yuan. But after all, we are family. My nephew has been kidnapped. As his aunt, I can't just stand by and do nothing. So I'm giving you an extra 500 yuan. Here's 2,000 yuan in total. Count it. I raised my eyes to look at the smug Anna in front of me. Her eyes now were like looking at a beggar. She had come here specifically to laugh at me. I wasn't angry. I just silently picked up the envelope and actually counted it carefully in front of her. This is what I earned from my labor. I don't feel ashamed. On the contrary, my actions made Anna a bit at a loss. I knew her too well. She thought I would fly into a rage or even have a mental breakdown, and that was exactly what she wanted to see. The money isn't enough. It's still 1,000 yuan short. Since I'm working as a nanny in the Rose family, you should give me every penny of my labor earnings. I wasn't lazy, nor was I late or left early. You have no right to deduct my salary. Also, during the years I've been working here, you haven't signed a labor contract with me. According to the labor law, you need to pay double compensation. Of course, as your elder sister, I surely won't send you to prison. So just pay me 1,000 yuan. My words obviously surprised Anna a lot. She stood up angrily. Rose, you must be crazy about being poor. You're even haggling over such a small amount of money. Yes, I'm poor, but I have more backbone than you. If you don't give me this money, be careful I really send you to prison. I replied crisply. Anna reluctantly took out 1,000 yuan from her bag and gave it to me. I took the banknotes unceremoniously, licked my finger with saliva, and started counting the money in front of her. Anna stayed in my room until late at night, but it seemed she had no intention of leaving. My dear sister, there's a huge gap between 3,000 yuan and 1 million yuan. I'm afraid you might be so desperate tonight that you'll jump off a building. For your safety, I'll sleep with you tonight. I'll protect your safety. Anna looked at me with a fierce look in her eyes. She had come here to spy on me. She was afraid that I could actually raise the 1 million yuan ransom. Aren't you afraid your husband will suspect you of having an affair if you don't stay with him tonight? I asked. Ha ha ha, don't worry, sister. He's been tamed by me so well now. He's not like before. He's a good husband and father now. Even if I find a wild man outside, he wouldn't dare to say a word even if he knew. However, I'm actually a bit afraid of you, sister. Since you gave birth to the child, my brother-in-law has never shown up. You've always refused to reveal his name. Now that your son has been kidnapped, I wonder if I'll meet this brother-in-law I've never met before in your room in the middle of the night. Hee hee, won't it be really embarrassing then? Anna got more and more excited as she talked, and her whole body was trembling with excitement. So she came to sleep with me not only to spy on me but also to find out who the father of the child was, so that she could hurt me even better. Haha, she's still as competitive as before. She'll do anything to beat me. Anna is lying right next to me now. We are sharing the same bed, but neither of us is asleep. Probably both of us are afraid that the other might strangle us in the middle of the night. We haven't slept together like this for 20 years, right? Anna is staring at the ceiling with her eyes wide open. Yes. 20 years ago, you were so obedient and cute. When she was little, Anna was very obedient. She relied on me a lot and we had a great relationship. But I don't know when it started, she began to hold a grudge against me and our relationship has never been the same as before. Haha, sister, you're so naive. I was just putting on an act for you. Let me tell you a secret. Actually, I've hated you since I was old enough to understand things. All the love and everything in this family should belong to me only. With you staying at home, you'll take away my love and my things. Sister, I remember when we were little, you said you loved me so much. If you really love me, why don't you just go and die? Leave everything of the Rose family to me, and then I'll be really happy. In the darkness, I could clearly feel that Anna's eyes were glowing green like a jackal's, and a chill ran down my back. She no longer bothered to conceal her true thoughts because she thought she had the upper hand. Knock knock knock. There was a soft knock on the door outside the room, and the corners of my mouth turned up slightly. Anna sprang up from the bed excitedly, her eyes shining with a sneaky light in the darkness. Haha, sister, I've finally caught you this time. My brother-in-law whom I've never met is finally going to make an appearance. I got up from the bed and turned on the night light in the room. Anna had already taken out her phone to record. She had been looking for this for 10 years and of course she wouldn't let go of this excellent opportunity. Sister, I'm recording the whole process now. You'd better not make any unnecessary moves, otherwise it'll be you who's guilty of having an affair with a wild man. Don't blame me for framing you then. I stood aside in silence, quietly enjoying her smug expression. Good, sister. Just stay still like a good girl. This time, not only will I make you leave the house with nothing, but I'll also make everyone close to you turn their backs on you and leave you. I'll make you live alone in this world. I guess that would be even more painful for you than dying. There was already a glimmer of victory in Anna's eyes. She was holding her phone in one hand and gently opened the door of the room with the other. The door was opened, and the person outside was completely exposed to view. How could it be you? Anna was completely stunned, and her phone slipped from her hand and fell to the floor. I looked at the person outside the door, a sinister smile on my lips. Outside the room, Ethan was looking at his wife who had suddenly appeared in my room, with a horrified expression on his face. Wife, listen to me explain. I just came to borrow a lighter. Ah, yes, my lighter is out of use. I just came to borrow a fire. This far-fetched excuse almost made me laugh out loud. Anna's face was distorted with anger. She picked up the fire extinguisher next to her and, without a word, threw it directly at Ethan. That night, everyone in the Rose family villa was woken up. Ethan was beaten unconscious and was lying on the blood-stained floor, breathing with difficulty. Anna, who had done the beating, was snuggling in her mother's arms, crying her heart out as if she were the one who had been hurt the most. Ethan had married into the Rose family, and none of the people in the Rose family dared to call an ambulance for him. They just let him lie there, fending for himself. After Anna had cried herself out, I walked out of the room. In front of Anna, I helped her husband Ethan to his feet. Rose, you're really good at this. You've kept it from me for so long. So you two have been having an affair behind my back all this time. You're such a slut. Anna looked at me with eyes like knives. You're such a beast. What a misfortune for our family. Why did our Rose family give birth to such a daughter like you? My mother was so angry that she beat her chest and stamped her feet, and then fainted on the spot. Thank you for the compliment. I helped Ethan and walked past my mother and Anna. After helping Ethan to the garage, I took the car keys from him, opened the car door and kicked him onto the back seat. On the way to the hospital, I deliberately slowed down the car. Ethan was moaning in pain on the back seat. I found the sound quite pleasant and wanted to listen to it a little longer. 2 tears rolled down from the corners of my eyes. Tears of joy and excitement. Seeing how crazy Anna was just now, I felt really satisfied and even wanted to shout out loud. Anna is my younger sister, but she deliberately ruined 2 of my relationships. The year I entered university, my childhood sweetheart Lucas confessed his love to me. After Anna found out, in order to keep us apart, she went to seduce him. But she underestimated the relationship between us. Lucas didn't give in. In a fit of rage, Anna even slandered him for forcibly molesting her. The principal weighed the pros and cons. The Lucas family had been engaged in medicine and academic pursuits for generations and didn't have much power, while the Rose family was one of the shareholders of the school. Reluctantly, the principal had to expel Lucas. Finally, my first love had to transfer to another province to study medicine. On the day of parting, he broke up with me and I cried all night in the dormitory. After graduating, I worked as a manager in the family company. One year, for the company's product launch event, the company invited Ethan, a popular traffic star. He had delicate features, a regular face, and a hot body. He was a real hunk. On the first day we met, he took the initiative to add me on WeChat. After that, he began to pursue me crazily. 1 year later, he got down on one knee and proposed to me. He said he had fallen in love with me at first sight and that he would love no one but me in this life. I was touched by his sincerity and put on his engagement ring. That very night, I slept with him. However, the next day, after Anna found out, she started to court Ethan. I thought this man would keep his vow to me and would never fall for someone else. But to my surprise, that very night he gave in and got together with Anna. What broke my heart even more was that on the second day after those 2 scoundrels hooked up, Ethan brought Anna to my room, took the ring off my finger himself, and put it on Anna's finger right in front of me. Wearing that ring, Anna looked at me with a haughty expression and said that they were going to have their wedding next week and hoped I could attend on time. That day, I was heartbroken. I drank a few cans of beer on the bridge across the river, then looked at the vast expanse of the river, closed my eyes, and plunged into the water. In the hospital. Ethan's condition wasn't too serious. Just a concussion, fractures in his hands and feet, and some disfigurement. He wasn't going to die. As a lovesick mistress, I sat by Ethan's hospital bed and carefully fed him breakfast. Rose, thank you so much. You're still willing to take me to the hospital and take such good care of me in this situation. I wiped the food residue from his mouth with a tissue and said charmingly, how could it be tiring? After all, you're the one I love. After hearing that, Ethan stretched his bandaged hand towards me with difficulty. Rose, I'm sorry. I was bewitched by that vixen Anna before. When I get better, I'll divorce her and run away with you. I promise I'll only love you from now on. I believe you. I held his hand and forced a happy smile on my face. Rose, is Nathaniel really our son? One of Ethan's eyes was bandaged and the other one was looking at me with tears in it. Of course. Didn't I show you the paternity test report yesterday? You can also calculate the time. I got pregnant right after that night. Because you suddenly married my sister, I was afraid you'd be upset, so I didn't dare to tell you. Now our son has been kidnapped, so I have to let you know. Sob, Rose, you and our son have suffered so much these years. If you'd told me earlier, I wouldn't have sided with your sister to bully you too. I'm really a lousy person. But our son will die before 7 o'clock this evening. I really can't get together this 1,000,000 yuan. I cried sadly in front of him. Rose, don't cry. It hurts my heart. I came to see you to bring you the money. This bank card has 1,000,000 yuan in it. The password is your birthday. It's the money I've secretly saved up these years behind that shrew's back. Take it quickly and go save our son. I took the bank card very neatly and got up and left the ward. Now that I had the money, I didn't want to waste a single word on the scumbag. Just a few steps out of the ward, a strong hand pulled me into a room. Humph, Rose, you seem to have a great chat with your ex-boyfriend just now. I was pinned against the wall by a man in a white coat. He had delicate features, long fingers, and a hint of jealousy between his brows. He was my childhood sweetheart Lucas. Why, my white angel, are you jealous? I hooked my finger on his face. Cough, stop fooling around. Let's talk about something serious. Lucas blushed from my teasing and drank some water uncomfortably. There's 1,000,000 yuan in this card. Take it. Thank you for taking care of me all these years. I handed Ethan's bank card to him. Lucas looked a bit displeased. Rose, what are you doing? Why are you being so formal with me? When I saved you back then, I said that it didn't matter if the Rose family bullied me, but if they bullied you, I'd never stand for it. I've been willing to do all this for you. I'd give anything for you. With tears in my eyes, I pushed him onto the hospital bed and responded to his confession with a passionate kiss. After the passion subsided, he lay in my arms. Now that Ethan, that scumbag, has got his comeuppance, it's Anna's turn next, right? Ethan's punishment isn't enough. As for Anna, just follow the previous plan. Rose, I'm so worried about you. Don't be afraid. I've been waiting for this day for 10 years. The arrow is on the string. I'll make Anna and the Rose family get the punishment they deserve. I'll take back everything that belongs to me. Lucas looked at me with a worried expression. When you succeed, will you leave me and go for other playboys? I smiled and stroked his head. Be good. When I succeed, I'll marry you in a proper way and give you a proper status. Lucas snuggled up to my chest, looking as happy as he did that night. 10 years ago, I was hurt by Ethan, that scumbag. I got drunk alone on the bridge. Unable to bear the pain, I jumped into the river. Fortunately, Lucas, who had just finished an operation and was off work, passed by. He recognized me at a glance. As soon as I jumped into the river, he jumped in right after me. After pulling me ashore, he sent me to the hospital for emergency treatment immediately. That night, he put on his white coat again and treated me personally. He worked until noon the next day before he managed to save my life. When I opened my eyes, the first person I saw was Lucas. He threw himself into my arms and cried loudly. Finally, he fell asleep soundly on me. He was snoring like thunder then, looking as if he had unloaded a heavy burden. Later, I told him what had happened. After hearing it, his eyes were full of tears from heartache. He said that it didn't matter if the Rose family had him dismissed from school back then, but if the Rose family bullied me, he'd make them pay dearly. After leaving the hospital, I went to the bank. I transferred the money from Ethan's bank card to my salary card and then drove back to the Rose family villa unhurriedly. Although the salary card was registered under my real name, it was being monitored by Anna. Sure enough, as soon as I arrived at the Rose family's place, I saw her hurriedly getting into the car with a baseball bat in her hand. When she passed by me, she glared at me with a fierce look, and I responded with a smile. After returning to my room, I made a cup of coffee and lay on the chair, quietly enjoying the morning sunshine. Soon after, my mobile phone rang. Lucas sent me a video. In it, Anna entered Ethan's ward with that baseball bat. Then, there came a series of screams like those of a pig being slaughtered during the Chinese New Year. A nurse rushed over upon hearing the noise. She was so scared that she collapsed on the ground as soon as she reached the door. Finally, a group of security guards came and pinned Anna down, and then the doctors were able to push Ethan in. At noon, Anna returned to the Rose family. The first thing she did was to come and talk to me. "Sister, you're really something." Anna was holding the baseball bat from the morning in her hand, with some dirty bloodstains on its surface. "You seduced my husband into bed and secretly gave birth to a little bastard without telling any of us. No wonder you refused to tell us who the father of this child was all these years. You must have had many affairs right under my nose all these years. I really didn't see it coming. What a nice counterattack you've made." Her eyes were bloodshot. She raised the baseball bat and patted my face. "Sister, you've successfully made me angry." I took a step forward, pushed against her chest, and met her gaze. "Yes, I've been having an affair with your husband every month. Your husband said you're a shrew and he can't find any happiness with you." "What? Do you want to hit me? Do you have the guts to lay a hand on me?" Anna's eyes seemed to want to skin me alive. But then she put down the baseball bat and took a step back. "Ha ha ha, I won't fall for your trick. If I beat you to death, I'll go to jail myself. I won't go down with you. I'm not that stupid. However, sister, this is more interesting. The more the prey resists, the more fun it will be when it's time to slaughter. If you just let me do whatever I want without any resistance, I'll find it too dull and boring. There are still 7 hours left, my dear sister. I've prepared a big gift for you." Anna left, laughing with the baseball bat on her shoulder. At 3 p.m. the kidnappers called the landline in the living room of the Rose family asking specifically for me. In the living room, Mother was lying on the sofa getting in 4 drip, Father was sitting in a wheelchair, and Anna was staring at me intently. I picked up the phone and found that it had been set to speakerphone. "Miss Rose, I'm sorry to inform you that due to inflation, the ransom has now gone up to 2 million yuan. If I don't see the money by 7 o'clock this evening, you can go to the underworld to look for your son." The phone hung up. I needed to raise another 1 million yuan in 4 hours. It seemed that this kidnapper wasn't after the money. He just wanted my son's life. My eyes involuntarily turned to Anna. She was still staring at me with a meaningful smile on her lips. Using 2 million yuan to ransom a bastard? The Rose family would never do such a thing. Moreover, I should thank this kidnapper for getting rid of a nuisance for our Rose family. Mother was so angry that she stood up pointing at me with her trembling hand. "Right. Our Rose family doesn't want a slut like you who seduces her brother-in-law. Starting from today, we're cutting off all ties with you. You're not our daughter anymore, and don't you dare call us mom and dad anymore. We can't afford to lose face like this." Father, sitting in the wheelchair, had his eyes wide open like lanterns. I let out a bitter laugh. The pain that had been suppressed in my heart for so many years finally became unbearable. "Ha ha ha, cut off all ties? When have you ever treated me like your own daughter all these years? You clearly knew that Anna ruined my first love, stole my marriage, took over my position in the company, and bullied me in this family, treating me like a slave. But you deliberately pretended to be blind and helped the evildoer. And in the end, you're calling me a slut. Doesn't your heart ache when you say these things? You're the elder sister. What's wrong with giving in to your younger sister a little? Your being so petty only makes me look down on you even more." Mother said this with great confidence. Anna immediately took the opportunity to come over and comfort Mom, calm down. If you get sick from being angry, I'll be heartbroken. Anna is so sensible. I must have done something wrong to give birth to your sister. Anna is the best choice for our Rose family. The family will be in your hands from now on. Mother stroked Anna's hand with satisfaction, with an expression of unparalleled pride on her face. Looking at their affectionate mother-daughter scene, I felt a bit nauseous and wanted to leave. Wait a minute. You can't leave yet. Father's tone was very stern as he pushed his wheelchair to block my way. I'm not a member of the Rose family anymore. I don't have the patience to watch you guys act out this ridiculous family drama. I was a bit impatient. You can't leave. I've arranged for someone to come over. You need to be here to be a witness. Just as father finished speaking, a man in a suit carrying a briefcase walked over. Hello, Ms. Rose. I'm the lawyer entrusted by your grandfather before his death. Next, I will distribute the inheritance of the Rose family according to his will. I let out a cold laugh. You guys are really fast. My son has been kidnapped and his life is in danger, yet you're busy distributing the inheritance. Anna was sitting on the sofa with her legs crossed. Sister, don't blame me for not warning you. This has legal effect. According to the regulations, if you leave, you'll be deemed to have given up the inheritance by default. The lawyer took out a thick stack of legal documents and placed them on the table, then began to read them one by one. Time passed bit by bit. Anna watched the clock in the living room, and the smile on her lips grew wider and wider. She was deliberately trying to waste time. I smiled secretly to myself. Well, this was good too. It saved me a lot of trouble. Suddenly, the clock in the hall chimed. Anna burst into a wild laugh. Ha ha ha, sister, you're doomed. At this moment, the lawyer just finished reading the legal documents. He glanced at everyone and then began to prepare to distribute the inheritance of the Rose family. Julian was brought downstairs by the servant. I exchanged a glance with him, and he nodded with a slight smile on his lips. Dear son, come to mommy quickly. See what present I've prepared for you. Anna stretched out her hands, looking at Julian with doting eyes. I didn't want to show any weakness either. I crouched down and said, Good boy, the game of hide-and-seek is over. It's time to recognize your real mother. Everyone looked at me in shock. Anna stared at me. Have you gone crazy from the shock? I ignored her and just smiled at Julian. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Julian happily ran towards me. Mommy, is the game of hide-and-seek over? The living room was silent. I picked up Julian with a smile and looked around at everyone. Yes, my dear son. It's time to end this game. Rose. What do you mean? Why is my son calling you mommy? Anna looked at me in disbelief. I smiled and let out a deep breath, feeling a huge sense of relief. Because I'm Julian's biological mother. He's my biological son. So he calls me mommy. Is there a problem with that? No, it's impossible. Julian has been with me since he was a baby. How could he be your biological son? I took out my phone and sent a copy of the paternity test document to Anna. This is the test report from an authoritative hospital. Julian is my biological son. 10 years ago, we both gave birth at the same time. I knew this day would come sooner or later, so I had someone swap sons with you in the hospital. The one you took back from the hospital was actually my son. Anna's hands were trembling as she looked at the test report on her phone, and the expression on her face became more and more terrified. Anna, are you okay? Could what that bitch said be true? Mother's voice was shaking. This reversal came too quickly for her to accept for a moment. If Julian is your son, then my son. Anna muttered softly. Suddenly, she realized something and quickly took out her phone to make a call. The phone showed it was powered off, and Anna's eyes became vacant. You swapped sons with me, which means Nathaniel is my son. The kidnappers kidnapped my son. I killed my own son with my own hands. Yes, you killed your son with your own hands. I said. I killed my own son. Anna collapsed on the ground, repeating this sentence over and over again. Mother came to Anna's side. Anna, what are you talking nonsense? It was the kidnappers who killed your son. How could you say you killed your own son? Because the kidnapper was arranged by Anna. My words made everyone present freeze instantly. Anna is in cahoots with the kidnappers? How could that be possible? Mother was so scared that she took a step back, moving away from Anna. Anna, is this true? Father looked at Anna, who was collapsed on the ground in shock. Anna didn't respond to the others. She just stared blankly at me. So you knew all along? You planned all of this by yourself. It wasn't just me who planned it, I replied. Anna looked confused. Of course, I also helped Mommy. I've been playing this game of hide-and-seek with Mommy for 10 years. I saw clearly how you treated my mommy during these 10 years. Julian stood in front of me, clenching his fists, his eyes constantly on guard against the people in the living room, protecting me like a little tiger. Finally, he pointed at Anna with a fierce look and said, "You're a bad woman. I told Mommy everything about you contacting the bad guys on the phone to kidnap Nathaniel these days. A big bad guy like you should go to hell." Julian's actions made Anna spit out a mouthful of blood and her whole face turned pale without a trace of color. "Ha ha ha, sister, you're really ruthless. I won't let you off. Even if I have to die, I'll take you down with me." Anna forced herself to stand up, took out the baseball bat from the side, and staggered towards me. Julian, standing in front of me, immediately became alert. He raised the bench beside him to protect me. I gently stroked my son's head. "Julian, don't worry. Mommy's okay. Someone will take care of her." Suddenly, 2 policemen appeared in the living room. Seeing Anna's actions, they quickly stepped forward and subdued her. "Ms. Anna, you are suspected of kidnapping a minor. We are arresting you according to the law." After handcuffing her, the police took her away directly. I walked up to the lawyer. "Just now was just a little interlude. Can we proceed with the inheritance transfer now?" The lawyer was probably also frightened by the scene that had just unfolded. After being stunned for a while, he finally came to his senses. "According to your grandfather's will, all the inheritance of the Rose family now belongs to Julian. However, since Julian is still a minor, for the time being, the management of the Rose family's business will be temporarily taken over by his immediate relatives on his behalf." The lawyer looked at me and then examined the paternity test certificate I had brought. "There are no other issues. Then, Ms. Rose, Julian's mother, will temporarily take over the management of the Rose family's business. Sign your name here and press your fingerprint, and the will take effect." I had just picked up the pen to sign when Father stopped me with a loud shout. "Wait a minute. Since it's about immediate relatives, wouldn't it be okay for the child's father to manage the company on his behalf too?" The lawyer looked around. "Of course, that would be fine too. But is the child's father present?" "I'm here. I'm the child's father, and I'm willing to take over the management of the company's business." Ethan was pushed into the hall of the Rose family in a wheelchair. His whole body was wrapped in bandages, and only one eye could be seen. "Is this gentleman the child's father?" The lawyer looked at Ethan, who looked like a mummy, with some confusion. "Yes, he is the biological father of the child. I can testify to that." Father looked at me smugly. As expected, Ethan was called over by Father. "Rose, I know about you swapping Anna's son. I forgive you. As the father of the child, of course, I should be in charge of the company's business. In the future, you can still work as a nanny in the Rose family like before. I can also be magnanimous and let you be my second wife. After all, I do have some feelings for you." Although Ethan's face was completely covered with bandages, his wolfish ambition was still visible in his eyes. "Sure enough, a leopard can't change its spots. Haha, Rose, even if Anna is a criminal, your mother and I still look down on you. The business of our Rose family can't be handed over to a woman like you who has brought disgrace to our family." Father still looked at me with contempt in his eyes. I looked at them helplessly and let out a deep sigh. "Who told you that the child's father is Ethan, that scumbag?" Ethan was quite shocked upon hearing this, his eyes almost popping out of their sockets. "Rose, what are you talking about? Wasn't the child we conceived that night Julian? Ethan, where do you get the confidence that you could get me pregnant with my son in just one night? Don't flatter yourself." Father visibly panicked at this moment. Then who is Julian's biological father? It's me. A tall figure appeared at the door. When Julian saw the person at the door, he happily rushed over. Dad, you're finally here. Everyone looked at the person at the door. Lucas, how could it be you? Mother recognized the person at the door and exclaimed in shock. Sorry, honey, I'm late. I just got off work after an operation. Has anyone been bullying you? Lucas came to my side, holding Julian in his arms. Let me introduce him to you. This is my husband and also the father of the child. I held Lucas's hand and looked at the astonished crowd. Ethan came to his senses and no longer had the arrogance he had shown earlier. Rose, so your husband is Dr. Lucas. No wonder Julian looks so much like him. I was just joking just now. Please don't take it seriously. I let out a cold laugh. Then I'll also joke with you. In the future, the Rose family's products will no longer cooperate with you. And I'll also post your past deeds on the internet to let everyone see your true face. Ethan was about to say something when Julian stepped forward and gave his wheelchair a hard push. He let out a scream as he and the wheelchair rolled straight out of the room. Rose, it turns out that your mother and I have been wronging you all this time. Why didn't you tell us earlier? Mom wrongly blamed you. It's all because your sister was speaking ill of you in front of us. After all, we are your biological parents. You can't ignore us when you're in charge of the Rose family in the future. Seeing that the situation was hopeless, my parents promptly changed their tune. Don't worry. I'm not as petty as you. I don't hold grudges. My words made my parents smile happily. But it seems you've forgotten that I've already cut off all ties with you. Even if I'm willing to be filial, I don't have parents to whom I can show my filial piety. You can fend for yourselves from now on. After saying that, I signed my name on the lawyer's will. Finally, I took one last look at this family that had made me suffer so much. I had suffered in this family for 10 years, and I would never come back again. In a couple of days, I'll have someone tear this place down and build a public toilet here. I held Julian's hand and my husband's hand and walked out of the Rose family villa. On the way, Julian asked me curiously, Mom, was Nathaniel really killed by the bad guys? I crouched down and stroked his head. Of course not. How could Mom be so cruel? Nathaniel is your good friend. I've always treated him like my own son all these years. How could I possibly hurt him? Mom sent him to study abroad. He should live abroad in the future.